solutions that we want, and people want it as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call Phil Twyford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a shame that the senior member of the Transport and Industrial Relations Select Committee couldn't summon up more thought, more intelligence, more substance, or even more wit than that last contribution, and it's really a shame that a bill as important and far-reaching as this didn't get a more serious treatment from the opposition, who only gave it 3 minutes. Sir, there are a number of reasons why the Labour Party opposes this bill, and Darian Fenton summarised them very well, but it's true, sir, that this bill narrows the principal legislation's purpose statement and decision criteria in a way that we feel is retrograde and unhelpful to the future of New Zealand's transport system. It's true, sir, that this bill reduces the say that communities all around New Zealand have in setting the transport priorities that they pay for with their petrol tax and their road user charges. And, sir, it's true that this bill, perhaps most damagingly, opens the door and facilitates more long-term debt and use of toll roads to fund a national land transport program whose priorities are fundamentally wrong. And that is, sir, why we oppose this bill. More than ever, the transport system in New Zealand needs to take account of sustainability, it needs to take account of social well-being, the needs of communities, the environment, and economic efficiency. And unfortunately, what this bill does is that it cements in place the very narrow and distorted definition of economic efficiency that this government has used to justify its roads of national significance. This motorway building binge that the national government has gone on for the last few years, sir, wasting billions of dollars of taxpayers' money, building white elephant, duplicate, over-engineered, gold-plated motorway projects, sir, that will be an albatross around the necks of future generations of motorists. The bill also abolishes the regional fuel tax, which is just part and parcel of this government's systematic stripping away of the powers and the options that local government might have to fund their own transport priorities, sir. And we've seen it recently in the debate in Auckland, where Jerry Brownlee ruled out, within minutes of the Auckland Council's consensus building group on funding options, within minutes of their report being released, and noting that he hadn't even read the report, the Transport Minister ruled out the very recommendations that body of expert opinion recommended, including a regional fuel tax to fund Auckland's future transport agenda. Sir, but I want to focus the rest of my comments tonight on an issue that hasn't had much attention in the debate so far, and that is a really insidious part of this bill that strips away the democratic rights of Aucklanders in setting the priorities of the transport program, services and infrastructure, trains, buses and ferries, that they pay for with their road taxes, sir, with their road user charges and petrol excise duty and their rates, sir. This bill takes away the power to make decisions about Auckland's transport system and hands those powers to the Cabinet. It puts those powers in the hands of the executive, sir, at the expense of local government and the elected representatives of the people of Auckland. And I just think that is unforgivable. It is just the latest move by this government to clip the wings of an Auckland council that it cannot abide. And we've seen so many examples now, it's hard to keep track of them, sir. There's a whole debate going on about the response to the housing affordability crisis in Auckland, and we can come to that at another day. But what this bill does is that it strips Auckland Council of its right to determine the priorities for spending what currently is about $459 million a year. 33% of the rates that Aucklanders pay go to Auckland Transport, sir. This bill takes away the ability of Auckland Council to have a say in setting those priorities. It's the only council in the country that is losing its democratic right. It is the only one, sir. And why is that? Because this government has a problematic relationship with Auckland Council. The wrong guy won the mayoralty, and they have never, ever got over it. And that's their problem, sir, and it will come back to bite them. There are two reasons why the measure in this bill is particularly offensive, Mr. Speaker. The first is that it amounts to a giant loss of accountability for that $459 million a year that Aucklanders contribute to transport out of their rates. They're losing representation, sir, while they're being taxed. It's taxation without representation. It's a fundamental democratic principle that doesn't seem to be a matter of any importance to the national government. They're quite happy to say to Aucklanders, never mind what you think. Never mind that 63% of Aucklanders want to see the City Rail Link built as a matter of priority. We are going to impose the national government from Wellington, from Jerry Brownlee, the Minister of Gridlock, from his comfortable ministerial office in Auckland. He is giving the big middle finger to 1.4 million Aucklanders and saying, never mind what you think, 1.4 million Aucklanders, you pay your rates, you pay your taxes, but I know best. And I am going to set your priorities from Auckland, never mind what you think. This government loves to treat Auckland with contempt. It's their number one sport. We saw it actually right back in the setting up of the Auckland Super City, when Treasury and the Ministry of Transport advised the Cabinet that Auckland Transport would be more accountable if it was set up within Auckland Council as a department. But Stephen Joyce knew better. Stephen Joyce advised Cabinet, no, set Auckland Council up as a CCO, that way we can better control it. And that is exactly what this government has set out to do. They want to control Auckland Transport by requiring in this legislation that it has to act consistently with the government policy statement. So Auckland Transport will take its marching orders not from the people of Auckland, Mr. Speaker, but from the Cabinet. That is what's going on with this legislation. It is Cabinet telling Auckland how it's going to run its city, what the priorities are for its transport system, and that is exactly right. There's another basic principle, sir, of politics and government called subsidiarity. Subsidiarity means that decisions should be made as close as possible to the location where the consequences of those decisions are felt by those people who live with the daily consequences. It's Aucklanders who have to live with the consequences of this government's policies and its priorities. It's Aucklanders who sit in traffic, Mr. Speaker, for an hour in the morning and an hour at night because this government doesn't give a damn about their transport system and continues to want to impose a 1950s ideology of suburban sprawl and motorways. That's the mindset of the National Party, and they don't give a damn, sir. They don't give a damn that Aucklanders actually are crying out for something different. So, I want to say something, sir, to conclude about what National have done in the transport area. They have poured billions of dollars into gold-plated, wasteful motorway projects. They have neglected public transport. Not a single new piece of public transport infrastructure has been initiated since these turkeys have been on the Treasury benches. Not a single piece of new public transport. It's an absolute bloody disgrace. They have neglected rural roads, they have neglected state highways, they have run down Kiwi Rail, and now in this bill they are doctoring the legislative framework for our entire transport system to take power away from local communities and give it to Cabinet. What an absolutely disgraceful record. And I say to the National Government that they have gone too far. And there is not a shred of consensus left in the transport sector after 4.5 years that this government has in power. And if there's a good thing that comes out of the wasteful, mismanaged, ideologically blinkered management of transport by this national government, and that is that the next Labour-led government will lead major reform. It will lead major reform, and the legacy of this government will lie in tatters. And I say to the members over there, all the things that you've done for the last 4.5 years, they will be swept away because people do not want the kind of transport system that you have ushered in over the last 4.5 years. Not you, Mr. Speaker, these people on the National Treasury benches. There will be major reform. People will notice the difference. There will be public transport in our cities. The local roads will be maintained properly. There will not be billions of dollars wasted on motorways as the national government have done. And that actually will be the legacy of that party's tenure on the Treasury benches.
I'm calling Gillian Genter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak on the third reading of the